Welcome back to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week is no exception. Feral teases some ports. Confusing graph is confusing. And in space lands on the Linux. Seriously, that's the name. And Jedis trip the rift. But one I will not buy.
Areola Controlla gets another redesign. According to Pedro, it has a Penus. Terraria is also coming to Linux. FNA. And finally, Triumph Studios is working on a new Linux port. I wonder if they can make it past the main menu.
OlliOlli sees a Steam release. Personally, I enjoy when a developer is honest and upfront about their game. GOG supports Linux, kinda, sorta, maybe? And OpenAPOC joins the ranks of OpenMW in open sourcing game engines, though, truth be told, it's not nearly as mental a project.
And those voices you just heard was the giggling death himself, Pedro AS, all the way with his nastiness in Portoland, and our tamed Canadian podcaster. And together with Shatrealm Dynamic, we form a bit of a cocaine Voltron. What's been going on this week, gentlemen? Fun things, interesting things, nothing? No?
Absolutely nothing. I had to work all week. That was fun.
Yeah, pretty much. I just handed in the Pi that the boss had given to me so I could set up the software they're developing for a particular company. See if it would work, but it turned out to be really slow, so we scrapped that. But they still paid me for it. It's kind of awesome.
Over here, I finally upgraded the Ubuntu to the latest, 14.04?
Yeah, 14.4.
Yeah, with the 64 bits. It was kind of brilliant. This is when I did it. I have a quasi, not traditional layout with my drives, and I showed that to the Ubuntu, and it pulled the glue stick out of its mouth and went, MOON. Yeah. And it's like, you're not touching that. We're doing this manually. And after some work, we got everything up and working with that business. But, J-Man, don't we have a bit of a PSA going on this week?
We do. You ever, wanted to buy one of those high-tech next-gen consoles from a couple of years back?
No.
But you just couldn't put together the scratch because you just dropped about $1,000 on video card hardware?
Nope. Can't say that I did.
Well, for those of you who do fall in that category, there is our PCS3, which is a PlayStation 3 emulator that runs on Linux.
Mm-hmm.
They have a GitHub. The link will be in the show notes. But yeah, it's right now it can play like indie games, but according to the YouTube video they showed, it's a bit laggy. So the fact that it even works is pretty good.
Yeah.
Considering they're emulating an Emotion Engine and a PowerPC CPU, so.
Well, I just love all the yellow swag bros that is like, the reason there's not a PS3 emulator is because it would take 1 billion PCs. I was like, no, not really. Nobody's just ever bothered with it.
No, you just need a pretty big honking video card. That's about it.
Yeah, and as long as they'll let me play The Last of Us all the way through on Linux, I'll be happy.
I'm definitely good with that. Get in there, like J-Man said, that will be in the show notes. It does compile. Really, it's stupid easy. All you need is libopenal and libg widgets. And you basically...
They list all the depths in the GitHub page, too. It's pretty cut and dry.
Well, speaking of cut and dry, man, how's that horse working out this week, baby?
You know, I always thought the horse was a girl horse, but apparently it's sprouted a bit of a Penus.
Yeah.
It's our Steam
Linux
update.
All right. So our good friend Sandy, you might know him from the show a couple weeks ago. He pointed this out on Twitter.
Never heard of him.
Steam Database. Never heard of him? Yeah, he's some schmuck from, I don't know, like Halifax or something. I don't know. Anyways, what the fuck was I talking about? Areola Controlla gets another redesign according to SteamDB. Would you look at that?
So, all I'm seeing is like all that cool shit that was once there, there's a bit no more.
It's
Yeah.
pretty much gone. Yeah.
It seems like each time they refine the design, it goes back to just being a regular controller. I mean, like the lack of D-pad in that is kind of disturbing, though. I'm hoping the touchpads will maybe a bit up to snuff in that regard.
Well, it's look like they're going for like a touch-sensitive D-pad. Giggity.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can use supposedly, the way they put it is that you could use any of the areolas and configure them any way you want. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, because that Penus that they've introduced doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence.
Don't you mean Penus?
It's a penis.
No. You clearly wrote Penus in the show notes.
Oh, well, I fat fingered that one. Okay, I'll fix it. There it is.
It's too
Up
late for
next,
that.
this is probably the
Ben,
biggest
what's on the
tease
radar?
in the world. This is Fuck You, that's why. From Feral,
Oh.
you might remember them from such ports as XCOM. Unlike the counterparts at Eon, they actually know what the fuck they're doing, and they're doing native ports.
Yeah.
This thing is the Because Fuck You, That's Why meter, and it shows off if you can catch them. Come on. Ugh. Let's gamify my frustration after being a Linux gamer for 17 years. And I see Grid 2. It starts out now, this very soon, quite soon.
What's the difference between very soon, and quite soon? Then when will then be now?
It's a bit of confusion. I mean, I first saw that there was going to be, it said Grid 2, and I was sploosh everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And
You know, in the quite soon, you see pathetic Earthlings. I'm waiting for Destroy All Humans. That shit's gonna be fun.
but something you got to keep in mind that these guys primarily outside of XCOM, they've been a Mac shop. But
Yeah.
once you have it over to Mac, a lot of the heavy lifting has been done. So maybe we'll see some of this. I mean, this is not, ZOMG Half-Life 3 confirmed type stuff, but it gives me hope.
But yeah, no, it's some teasing of what's coming out on the horizon. What they have out now, Castle of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse, is Mac
Yeah,
only, but
That's only for Mac, yeah.
And
I'm kinda looking forward.
I don't think the mouse wants to have anything to do with the penguin.
Yeah.
And they actually
Grid 2
spray
would
foam.
actually be an awesome addition to the Linux roster. And I hope if their port is even half as good as the XCOM one was, I really hope they port it to Linux.
Well, that's an interesting segue onto Halfway, tactical
Ooh.
RPG that just came out on Steam. You
Tell
can
me
pick
about
this
it,
up.
man.
It's on sale until the end of July for $11.69 giggity. Normally it's $12.99. What stinky cashes. But it's another one of these tactical RPGs in the vein of your XCOMs or your Shadowrun Returns or your Wasteland 2s.
Yep.
And according to it, does it have multiplayer? It does not. But it
No,
has.
it doesn't.
No, but it's an apparently engrossing storyline with 10 to 14 hours of gameplay and beautiful hipster pixel art.
Yeah.
But apparently they're including mod support, so it's a good move on them.
Support is a pretty good choice,
It's
even for a retro hipster pixel graphic
Yeah,
art.
I mean, if you just basically expose your gaming engine, you can have other people create content for it, and it sells more copies of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at that, and I said, good on them, even though I loathe the hipster pixel aesthetic, but and it's still kind of a bit pricey, but maybe it's going to be worth its meal, right?
It could
It
be.
is. And admittedly, I'm really curious about this one. I'm a big Fallout series fan, and the first two Fallouts, this one seems to borrow more than a little inspiration from it, so I'm getting kind of curious. Maybe.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, hey, it's not. At least it's not another first-person shooter on Linux.
Yeah.
Because we need more of those.
Ole,
And-
ole.
Speaking of retro hipster pixel art graphics,
These guys don't
we
fuck
have
around, do they?
OlliOlli.
Yeah, check out 14 seconds in that trailer.
Yeah, 14 seconds in. I like when a developer is honest and upfront, but yeah, they say that OlliOlli makes it
For our
addictive.
audio listeners, they say up front it's hipster pixel trash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the trailer even. So
But they say it mixes addictive one-life gameplay with over 120 tricks and grinds across 50 deviously crafted levels, 250 challenges, spots mode, and daily grind. It's basically a 2D skater, if you remember Tony
it's a
Hawk's
good
Pro
amount of
Skater.
content. It's like how
Yeah.
many levels?
What?
How many levels? I could go look that up, but I want you to tell me.
It's 50. 50
50.
deviously crafted levels.
Either way, 50 levels is more than most games give you these days. So
No, I'm digging
Yeah.
it. I mean, this is one of those things that has kind of tempted me because when you come out and it's like, yes, it's trashy hipster pixel stuff. I was like, you have my attention. It could be fun. Did we get some controller support with this business? I know I just scrolled down there.
full controller support.
Yep.
Bonus soda.
Bonus.
It's only single player, but yeah, it is a 2D skater, so you can probably hot seat it locally.
And as Edward said in Chat Realm, it's no skate or die. I remember trying to play that back in the arcades in the day. Lawn, off it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
So this next game though looks like this is a chapter out of T. Brown's autobiography.
This is fabulous, the game. And
Fabulous.
I was talking about I'm buying this game just to give these guys some money because this is so mental and it's fantastic. What is it? You never heard of it? It's called My Ex-Boyfriend, the Space Tyrant. It's a traditional point-and-click adventure, which stands out for its gay cast and eye-catching visuals. Hot.
Well, it caught my eye, all right.
Catching, you
Kinda
mean
hot.
the shortest fucking booty shorts you have ever seen on a man. And I mean, and I was watching a Let's Play of this today. There's like gratuitous ass shots in this.
It's a lot of man-ass.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Indeed, and
Absolutely
belly shirts.
nothing.
This is clocking in currently 15% off, so you can pick that up for 12.74 wet stinky cashes, single player, and that's about all you need to know because it's point and click. So long as your gerbil is up and working, good on you, Bob's your uncle. And, you know, we've never really questioned the sexuality of the horse, but we don't care. We love it anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, we don't judge. We'll take your money regardless of who you are.
All the time. All of
Coming up next, good old games, wines about Linux, Dungeon Keeper gets a clone, and more in regular news.
With your favorite, the news segment. And starting us off this week, it appears that GOG.com made with the Linux a little earlier than they said they would.
Dear
Yeah.
God in heaven. It's the rapture! Oh no!
It was a little earlier. They did say it was going to be around October-ish, but here we are in July, and 50 games for the free OS available right now. And I would curb your enthusiasm if I could. My internet powers don't stretch that far. But they do have a list of all the games in the article down here. You can see there's sort of a decoder to the whole thing. If you see first time on Linux, 99% of those are Wine/DOSBox ports. So keep that in mind.
You know, I'd be a bit less wary about the DOSBox ports, but the Wine ones.
Yeah, but they're playing nice, and that's one thing.
Yeah, they are.
We really ripped on The Witcher 2, not because it was Eon's Wine-ish type port or any other game on Steam that uses wine. God kind of did it right because it's right there in your face organ. They say, Sup, bro, this is some wine. Up to you. But I do have a twinge of a feeling that they kind of went, oh, right, you know, remember last year when they were going to support a mysterious operating system and they built all the bars and it's like, it's a Mac, yay!
Mac.
I had the distinct feeling. I was like, oh, we're a bit late to the party. Look, Linux thing. We can do that too, guys. Come on, bro. Yeah.
Over 600 Linux games on Steam, and they're like, yeah, we're just gonna release 50.
You know what would be nice? You know what would get them some fans? Is if they took all these old fucking games like Serious Sam and Unreal, 2K4, and Neverwinter Nights that have Linux versions and patch them up so that they work with modern libraries. That would win you some fucking fans.
It
Oh,
would.
that would be fun.
And we do need to point out, because I can just imagine the hate mail for next week. But you gotta understand it. GOG will DRM free. That's cool. We completely support that. But what P-Man said was still valid. There's like 600 games on Steam for Linux, man. They're pretty much 99% native.
Oh, yeah. There's a couple of wine ones and a couple of, well, just the one EON bullshit rapper one, but yeah.
Yeah.
So this thing.
This thing.
Dungeon Colony.
Dungeon Colony. And I mean, part of me wants to go, why? Dungeon Keeper exists.
Why did you make me feel pain?
but so this is an early access game. They want people to fund it. Basically, it operates on an account system similar to Minecraft, where anyone can download the launcher, but you need to sign in with an account.
Mm-hmm.
And currently, it costs how much is this? $5 for early access, which is reasonable, but really, it's a hipster pixel Dungeon Keeper.
It is. Even the original Dungeon Keeper.
So Dungeon Keeper, really.
Yeah, the original Dungeon Keeper is now available from GOG. Still doesn't have a Linux version, but if you do have the regular version, it is a DOSBox game, so as long as you set up DOSBox, it'll work fine. And comparatively, the graphics on this one do not look very good.
Yes, and they're trying to get a game out. They're asking for money. They're not asking for the moon, which I think is reasonable, and it deserves a mention.
You know, as far as hipster pixel games
deserving.
go, this seems to harken back to a more true hipster pixel.
I will give them credit for one thing though. It says before you buy an account, try the launcher to make sure that the game will actually launch on your system.
Yeah.
So good on them for bringing that up.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're attempting to do early access right. So credit where credit is due.
Mm-hmm. But speaking of good on these guys, Open APOC.
You mean the guy from The Matrix? APOC?
No, not that APOC. This is Open
I know this isn't steak.
Apocalypse. It's a team of guys got together and they decided to make an open source implementation of the XCOM Apocalypse engine. And there's nothing like a new game being released on a current OS to spur the nostalgia freaks into action and rehashing old ass games.
Well, I mean, it's good for the overall life cycle of the game because
It is.
Apocalypse came from way back in the DOS ages, 1997. I say good on them.
Yeah, it is. It was originally a DOS and Windows 95 game, but and it does build. I didn't have the assets, so I couldn't actually test it, but the compiling went fine. So really, if you have XCOM Apocalypse, I was going to call it Open APOC. If you have the XCOM Apocalypse assets, give this one a go. It will probably work. No promises.
Well, you know what else works? Shut up, Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. No, we're not joking. That's the name of the game. In space. What is it? It's a first-person astronaut simulator. So let's hope you're not on the Space Shuttle Columbia. Features. Fun and silly gameplay. Swedish astronauts. Bork, bork, bork. Crash stuff. Jetpack madness achievements. Secret missions. So you can be Soviet Russian astronaut, cosmonaut, comrade. And much more. Ooh. Their trailers clock... It's actually blow one up here and take a look at it.
Oh. Well, the price is right. It's $6. So
$6.
Yeah, you got some asteroids.
And they zipped it. I wonder if it works.
I wonder what game engine they're using. Probably some United game engine.
Unity.
Yes.
I don't know. This just seemed like a bit of fun, so I included that. You can find this at F3000 itch.io in space, but like everything else, you're going to be able to find that in our show notes once the show is published for the general mass consumption of our distortion. But,
Hey, Jordan. Fucking A.
F and A. So Flibbit posted this on Twitter earlier. This is Whitney Baird from one of the devs for Terraria, and she posted a screenshot of Terraria running under Ubuntu.
Woohoo.
And Flibbit then followed that up with another tweet saying, according to the best of my knowledge, they're porting it using FNA. And all I can say to that is, good. Good. Well, I mean, there are a lot of fun games released using XNA on the Microsoft platform, and now that there's essentially a drop-in replacement developed by Flibbit, boom, all of a sudden, all these XNA games are starting to see Linux ports. We saw that with Dust. We saw that with Scapegoat. And I'm eagerly awaiting Magicka's port, because that game was really fun.
Magicka. There's where it's at. I want to play Magic on Linux. Please? Someone get on it?
It's feasible, so...
Yeah.
well, I mean, the thing like back when we first talked to Flibbity, and that wasn't really even a gleam in his eye at that time, but now he's come up with the FNA, and it's open source, not necessarily complete drop-in replacement, but it's there.
That's the goal, at least. Is
right. And you don't have to pay anything for it, so anybody who wants to move over to the Linux side can do it. Fantastic.
And it is just a drop-in replacement, so you don't really do a lot besides debugging after it's done.
Yeah. It may not be 100% there in Flibbit. If you follow him on Twitter, he's always like, everyone who's using FNA, update to the latest master. Because I fixed a bunch of shit that wasn't working before.
And, considering we have, I think, 2 full-blown Terraria clones. Wait, no. Unique individual games that happen to basically do the exact same thing.
Those things.
Right. It would be interesting to get the original Terraria over to the Linux, man.
Yeah. But you know what? You know what I can't stand?
No.
Buttons.
What?
I've been dreading this segment. So let's just get this out of the way. For our Canadian fans in the audience, how do you kill a fox? You cut off its leg and make it run across Canada. There. Now nothing I can say. That is like the ultimate Canadian cancer joke. Everything I say now is small beans compared to that. Got it? Good. This is Katwa Shoujo. This is a visual novel starring a abled child going to a differently abled. It's an amputee school, and trying to proceed to fuck everything there, from what I understand, given the fact that it's a visual novel. And of course, there's this. Ben, click on the second Imgur link I posted there. This is actually how I first heard about this game. Jesus Christ, did your mom give birth on a minefield? But in all seriousness, everyone who's discussing this game eventually says this game is like fucked up, pull on your heartstrings, fries dog type shit that will make you just weep and cry at the sob stories of these various girls that you are trying to befriend and or seduce. And with that, I'm gonna pack my bags and head straight on to hell.
Yep.
But it's available Act 1 version 5. For the Linux.
It's completely free. There's a torrent for it. There's direct download links on their website, katwa-shoujo.com/download.
And it works out of the box on Corora 20, so good on them for that.
Good on them for that. But it's a visual novel. I don't think there's much in the way of technical hurdles to get it running under any other operating system. So that's a thing.
Still won't. You might remember Mr. Leopold Because he's basically the one responsible for getting the Jedi 90 thing that was, open source. Kind of had some extra bits in it that weren't supposed to be so much.
Just a bit.
Yeah. Jedi Academy up and running for Linux.
Some sort of Bink video.
Yeah.
Yes.
There were some things, not his fault at all. But he got up and playable. But now, the one thing every discerning Jedi needs is Oculus Rift support for this.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can pretend you're Luke Skywalker in that scene from A New Hope, where he has to like put the giant fucking helmet on his head and dodge blaster bolts with a lightsaber.
That would actually be an interesting use of the technology. This is tacking on Rift support to old games. Yes, fun thought experiment, neat project, way to learn about the technology, but people...
and they also added Xbox controller support through SDL2, which is a plus.
Yeah, but that's SDL2. That will ensure that every single controller at the face of the earth pretty much will work out of the box. But if there's one thing a game from 2003 needs, it's Oculus support. Hey, OpenMW devs, get on it.
But, that game, it's brilliant. You can get the source, get the odd assets. They're pretty cheap. I think you can even pick them up on GOG. I think that's what I did from way back when. But wondrous things coming to Linux.
Wondrous things. So, Age of Wonders 3, a game I've seen played a lot around my place because my roommate is completely addicted to it.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the devs are Triumph Studios are getting together and working on an OpenGL implementation so that they can get back-end Linux support out the window. Right now, they're focusing on the Mac code because once they get all the OpenGL stuff for that done, it's trivial porting all the rest of the code over to Linux.
Because OpenGL 3.1.
Yay. But right now, they're saying they can get to the menu, and that's about it. The game starts. So they're still a ways out, but good on them for working on it, and good on them for creating a native implementation.
Well,
basically, what it is what the game is for those of you who haven't.
There we go. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, it's sort of a fantasy-based civilization, but with like an emphasis on real-time combat as opposed to just the turn-based one.
Yeah. And it is, well, the Age of Wonders series, for any big fan of the strategy genre, it is a well-known series, and it is another pretty good, I wouldn't say AAA, but AA game coming to Linux.
Yep.
And I'm always okay with that.
And I guess that wraps up the news section. Coming up next, we whisper into your ears, essentially, about that one witch character from Buffy the Vampire Slayer in our Chairquisition.
Ghost! It was a ghost!
We're back, and we're throwing chairs at Whispering Willows, a game originally developed for the Ooh Yeah, but found its way onto SteamOS. This is from Nightlight Interactive. It's a Unity game, if you couldn't tell immediately from starting it up. You can pick it up for 15 wet, stinky space bucks. And what is it? Interact with the spirits of the dead. Solve puzzles of the mysterious mansion. Help Elena find her missing father. The horror adventure puzzle game, Whispering Willows. And of course, with every game that comes across our line of sight, we subject it to the Chairquisition. One chair means that it sucks. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that it's pretty good. And 4 chairs means shut up, take my money. And of course we have, as always, the categories Doom, mixed with the working, shiny and sounds, controls, and or fun. So then, Whispering Willows, Unity game. Did it make with the working?
Did it make with the working? Now, we've completely...
I hear its mouse support is very good.
It's brilliant. Here's the issue. J-Man already pointed out that it was originally made for the whole and
oh yeah, tough man, can't breathe. Oh no.
If you want an extra stab in the face, it works for that controller, but not for anything else. But 2 or 3 weeks ago, this is what we've been waiting on. They sent us some keys quite a while back And it's like, oh, okay, they're working on. It's like, fuck it. Finally, we're just going to do this. Still no controller support for anything under the moon. And if you touch your mouse organ, boom, it hangs. You got Alt-Tab and fix all that. But you're wondering what I tested this on. On the new 1404 LTS 64-bit Dual 770 box of You're Doing It Wrong. And they are doing it wrong. No controller support. And you think, if you don't have a controller and you got to play a platform-type game with a keyboard, what are you going to do with this hand? Well, I know what you can do with this hand, but that, after that...
That's what I was doing with that hand.
Yeah, after the first 8 seconds, you're done with that. But then you got to find a spot for it, and that's pre-programmed in your brain organ to touch the gerbil.
Straight for the mouse.
And it'll freeze up the game. So, the best I can do with Mix for the working on this box is 2 chairs, J-Man.
Yeah, I ran into a similar problem. And I had the added bonus of the first time I ran the game, the audio worked fine, but then it froze when I clicked on something. So I had to quit and restart the game, and then the audio didn't work. And then I did an update, and lo and behold, the audio kind of sort of worked when it felt like it. Other than that, the game ran fine. It's Unity, so we've come to expect a certain level of performance from them. Performance. That ultimately deserves 3 chairs. Pedro?
So, for once, the calculator ran a Unity game without any issue. Yeah, I touched the gerbil, I clicked on a bunch of things, I saw that it did nothing, and it worked. Everything worked fine. Granted, the intro video was a bit jittery, but it's Unity.
What did you run it on?
So, yeah. For me, couldn't really find anything to take a chair for, so 4 chairs for me.
4 chairs on what kind of box?
On the calculator with a 5650 HD ATI Mobility Radeon running on the open source drivers on Aurora 2064-bit.
Now say that 4 times fast.
No.
Alright, anyways, that's 3 chairs for Mix with the working. Up next is Shiny and Sounds. Ven, what did you think? Share your patient and humble opinion.
Take a look at this video that has... Oh, there we go. There's some gameplay. Shiny and Sounds. I'm doing a little bit better than you are, Toads, because you can tell a lot of love went in to trying to make this pretty.
To trying, yes. The keyword there being trying.
Yeah, right. And the soundtrack, it's a bit above average for your standard Unity game, but you would fuck mothering expect that at $14.99 wet stinky cashes. Outside of that, I don't have a lot to say for it. I mean, it didn't blow me away. The animations were a bit rough around the edges, a bit amateurish. And then again, even though this is Shiny and Sounds, I'm drawn back to I can't touch my gerbil, and I don't have a controller to play with, so... And it's not like you need 2 hand organs to control the game. You can do this, or this, and easily play the game with no issues. Didn't hate it. I thought it looked alright. For that price, can't really hook it up too much, but I'm going to give it 3. Not quite 4. I just respect what they're doing with it. I mean, you can tell a lot of work went into it. Jalen.
Well, the hand-drawn aesthetic kind of works for it. I find that I'm not blown away by the art. It's fairly, I would say, ultimately mediocre when compared to other hand-drawn games of that particular style. Every once in a while, it seems fairly South Parky as the background and the foreground don't really mesh all that well.
I mean, this video just reminds me of like Swipe or Don't Swipe.
Yeah, swipe or no swiping. Because we're talking about the Hannah Montana College Humor video. As for soundtrack, the soundtrack was all right. I ended up just listening over it because the audio was a bit not working at times, so I just put on my Icecast server and listened to some tunes over that. So I would say they did a mediocre job. It's middle of the road, so 2 chairs.
And for me, I'd give it 3 chairs, but there was a teeny tiny visual glitch with the lighting in some very specific cases. When you start in the catacombs, there's one torch, just one, that if you stand with your character near it, your character starts blinking yellow. Like, it doesn't blend in well at all. It's just jarring. And, well, the voice acting. Because it's not voice acting, it's grunting. That's all your character does. It's a whole lot of grunting. So, for me, it gets 2 chairs because that's all I can muster.
All right, well, that's 2 chairs for Control. Or not Control, Shiny and Sounds. Next one is Control. God damn it, Jordan. Read, damn you. And
Well, overall, we can give it 1 chair if something works. Technically, the controls on the keyboard work. And you can imagine how miserable that experience is, especially at that price. If I'm throwing down 15 wet, stinky moon caches at a developer, I expect controller support. Something that they've promised and have yet to deliver. We just got tired of sitting on this game. It's like, fine, here it is. Don't. Not with a controller. And like I said, if you touch the mouse, boom, it freezes on any Debian or Fedora system. The controls, now, for what they are, they work, but it's pretty hard to cock up keyboard controls. Left, right, you might hit the space bar on occasion. The escape to check your journal. Oh, and the Q button, so she can do a, and, she jizzes out her soul. And you go all ethereal for a moment. Then
really, who doesn't do that? Who doesn't just jizz out their soul
just
every night?
saying, man. I mean, it's like billions of slaughtered children everywhere. But at that price and lack of controller support on what is effectively a platformer that has controller support on the Ouya, that thing that you can buy at the thrift store for, £2. No, 2 chairs. J-Man.
Yeah, I was a bit shocked when the Xbox controller didn't work. Apparently, it only works with the Ouya controller because everyone has one of those.
Everyone's got one of those.
Oh yes, but I mean, I can't really fault this game for having bad controls because it doesn't. For the limited amount of things you can do in the game, the controls work and they work well. It's not something mind blowing, but again, you can't fault them for being bad controls. No controller support withstanding,
And
so
they don't
I'll give it 3 chairs.
To their fairness, they don't say anything about having controller support, so...
Yeah, it's not
to be fair.
So, for me, for what it is, the controls work. Still have to ding it a chair for the lack of a dedicated sprint function, which I will elaborate on the next segment. So, for me, it gets 3 chairs.
So that totals up to 2 chairs for controls. And now our final subjective category. Foon. Then, did you have fun?
I had food once. We lost a lot of good men that day. Now, this is not fun. This is designed from Genesis for the UA. Which is, for console, a sit-back experience meant to be played with a controller. That's what it is. That's what this game was designed to be. And in only what I could describe as a serious misapplication of judgment, they decided to go ahead and release it on, I'm guessing it's also available for Windows with the same mothering issues. And no, I can't have fun with a game that was meant to be complete with a controller, and there's no controller support, and I'm doing all this, and then it has the added issue of you can't tap your gerbil. You have to move your gerbil somewhere away from you because reflex reaction. It's just to jerk it off or do whatever you do with it. I couldn't distracted me so much from the story, which seems good, which genuinely seems good. It's like I could get into it and pay attention if all these other things went constantly bukkake in my face organ. So, for fun at that price and this level unfinished, 1 chair is all you get, son?
Yeah. There's not really a lot of dynamic gameplay in this game. You really just do the one thing. So you sort of walk around and hammer on space, and then when you get to a dead end, you hit Q, and then you walk around some more and you hammer on space. And then eventually you get to the next area, except every so often there's a chase scene that has 0 tension whatsoever.
Yeah.
Which for a horror atmospheric puzzle adventure game really doesn't fly. Speaking of horror adventure games, the letters you get really remind me of the journal entries from Amnesia: Machine for Pigs.
I don't think that's an accident.
Yeah, with like instead of pigs and jaguars, it's birds and flying. But there's really no difference. And all I could think of was, you know what? Amnesia: Machine for Pigs was actually a pretty decent game. I enjoyed playing that.
Comparatively, yeah.
AI problems aside, I mean, you can't trap enemies in corners with chairs here, but really all you can do is run away at a slightly faster pace. Pedro, you bring up a really good point about the lack of sprint button because you move at a fucking snail's pace, and and you have to backtrack quite a bit in this game, especially if you miss something like what do you call it, the lever thing. I missed a crack in the wall on like the floor because I was looking for them in the ceiling. So backtrack, and it really just sucks the fun out of it. I'm sure there's an interesting story, but I just can't give a shit. So I'm gonna give it 1 chair.
Yeah, so there's the thing. The lack of a sprint button, I can see why they don't have it. It's about pacing. Pacing is very important when a game is relying on its atmosphere to deliver a certain kind of message, let's call it that. And pacing was what dictated that Silent Hill 2 was a far superior when it comes to horror games than most of its genre. I see what they tried to do with the character only sprinting in certain specific scenarios, like when you're getting chased. Oh, okay, she's running now, so that means there's probably something behind me. Oh, there it is. Okay. So it's at this point that giving a player more or less agency, it dictates whether or not said player will keep his or her immersion in the game. And for me personally, not being able to move faster in the regular non-chase scenes is a dead giveaway that there would be specific points where your character would in fact be running for his or her life. And to me, it was an immersion killer. It killed it for me, and
it killed your immersion boner.
Yeah, completely. And like you guys already mentioned, it has a very interesting story. I would very much like to play it, but she walks so fucking slowly.
It's really hard to give a shit, isn't it?
Yeah, I am going to give it 2 chairs because I really like the premise, but god fucking damn it, get your pacing right.
Alright, so that's 1 chair for fun, and if we toss these all up and bury them in soft peat for about a month, dig them up, and breed the Necronomicon, bring them back to life, you get 2 chairs worth of body lift. So, final thoughts, gentlemen?
I guess at the end of the day, take that shot. Not for this price. Not for this price. I would they clearly say there's no controller support, which I would have been more happy with learning that, by the way, we built this game from the ground up for controller support. That I think that would have been a great thing. Don't pick it up at that price. Don't pick this thing up on sale. Don't even look in its general direction or make disparaging remarks about its mom until controller support is added and they chop the price in half, because that's what it deserves at the end of the day, J-Man.
Yeah, for $15, this game doesn't really... It doesn't look like a $15 game. Maybe it looks like a $5 game.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if you're gonna charge $15, this thing has to be at least semi-voice acted, controller support.
Yeah, I kind of hate to say that.
Here's a fucking
All
thing
right.
I would like to see is taking advantage of cloud saves, because I have multiple PCs. I'd like my save files to be synced from one system to another, and very few games actually take advantage of that. I actually give extra.
Something
I
I
actually make
want
it
to
a
touch
point to
on
give extra
quickly
tips for,
is that price
what?
point is that's what the market will bear, because they are Goat Simulator is our standard $9.99, and
Yep.
that is a game that's brilliant, that works
It has no business being that fun.
right.
Yeah.
And yes, it's kind of shit that you can't get away with charging, £20, £14 for your indie game. I understand that, but you want to sell it, you got to work with the market. When you got something,
Yeah, and
it feels
if you're
overpriced.
trying,
P-Man?
if you're trying to sell a Ouya game on Steam, price it the same way you would have priced it as though you were releasing it again on the Ouya. Because, and I see a lot of Android game developers doing this. They release their Unity shitty Android game on Steam for $10 or $15 or whatever, and then you look for the game on the Android market, and lo and behold, $2. What the hell?
Because
Price it appropriately.
I mean pricing in an app store environment and pricing in something like Steam is quite different. People have different mentalities when it comes to buying stuff for their phone versus buying stuff for a computer.
But it's the exact same game.
Shut up, Pedro. You don't understand about phones and how they're the future.
I
That's
can play
enough
XCOM on
hatred.
my phone. Granted, it was cheaper, but I can play it.
Oh man, I'm still dreading the day when I can play FTL on my phone.
That's going to be horrible. But coming up next, don't we have some hate emails?
We do. We have some delicious tears that we want to lap up and rub all over our bodies. Coming up next.
Hate mail. It's kind of like hedgehog.
It's
Foamy poop.
It's what's for dinner.
Nom.
It's that time of the week where the internet pours out their souls into the hate mail. It's the hate mail of LGC, ladies and gentlemen.
Did you mean to say that it's the hate mail of hate mail?
Yes.
In which we read hate mail to the hate mailers?
We'll read all the hate mail from all the hate mailers.
Jordan, why are you hating? Tell us about it.
Oh wow! You can go to our if you wanna scream at us, you can go to our contact page at LinuxGameCast.com. Click on the contact button, fill out your contact information, prove that you are smarter than our Cylon overlords, and send us a little how do you do. But if you have some sort of crowdfunding campaign or Steam greenlight, despite the fact that Steam is letting anything that even has a greenlight page
Pretty
into
much.
Steam.
Confirmed.
I don't know why. I don't know why you would even need our help getting your game greenlit, but regardless, if you have anything like that and you try to get us to talk about it, but you don't send us anything that will actually execute and run under Linux, we will just hate on you. This is like players hater ball type shit. So why don't we get started? Mr. Mr. not Cruz. I keep wanting to call him Terry Crews. He's Terry Welsh.
Crews.
he is way too pasty to be Terry Crews. Power! Well, he tried to be Terry Crews at least, and he let us this really, really long tirade. How do you want to handle this? You want to read the entire thing?
Wait. We're not going to. I think maybe J-Man, you need to explain. Actually, P-Man, explain why he even wrote us.
So here's the thing. Last week we did a bit of a review of a game called Retro Booster.
What's that? Never heard of this.
Yeah, it's a game created in the Cave Flyer Lunar Lander genre by Mr. Terry Welsh himself. And we were not so generous with the chairs, as the case may be, and he had something to say about it, an entire wall of text.
Well,
which contains the line "side effect of your collective ineptitude," which is totally
I was a big fan of that.
Which is now the new name of my Black and Doom Metal collective.
It's a huge wall of text. The first thing I want to say is, we've only had the chairs for coming up on 2 years, and we're still reverse engineering that technology. We're not quite sure exactly how they work, but we do know one thing as to why we round down, especially with makes with the working, right, J-Man? Could you explain that?
Well, again, they're fucking chairs. You are critiquing the integrity of a video game review system. That's the first strike against you. Strike number 2, that uses lawn chairs as their metric. What the hell? Why are you nitpicking numbers of lawn chairs? Oh, Terry, your tears are so sweet. They're the most delicious sauce. Let me lick your face.
And not to go full Radiohead, there is genuinely a mathematical reason that we constantly round down. It is for the make with a working section. Because we kind of have to. There's no half chair. And that could really fuck up the entire score just because the game launched and ran under Linux. You have to remember that this is part review, part Q&A. Nobody else was doing this. We had to create this. Why? Because no one was doing it.
Yep.
Make your own.
We're the only ones. We're the only ones doing QA or Q&A under Linux. And, well, yeah, Retro Booster was good. It wasn't perfect. And there is one paragraph in which Terry actually agrees with our thing. He says, I should start by conceding that there were a handful of accurate statements during the review, such as Mr. Stone labeling of the game as fuck you hard. While vulgar, it was considerably more descriptive and erudite than Mr. Svung's It was also pleasant to note that Mr. Mateus achieved a degree of motion sickness, and likely without ever reaching the hidden level that was aptly titled motion sickness. I actually went back, replayed the game, and I found it. God damn it, Terry.
How much puke, Pedro?
Not puke. Not puke, but I had to pause the level for a little bit, go outside, grab a smoke, and come back, because motherfucker.
It still blows my mind. I mean, even Strider and Chat-Realm. Well, Strider and a couple of the people in Chat-Realm were discussing how the chairs work. And I just wanted to post the gif of eating popcorn. I was like, really? You're discussing this?
Do go on. But ultimately, I think we had a fairly fair review. Terry, I know Retro Booster's your baby. Might be a little bit butthurt. Moving on!
The Thing!
Steam!
This kind of came in my direction from James Kendall. Which this is a fair mothering question. Go ahead.
He says, hi there, Ven. I'm a fellow Linux gamer. I was hoping you could help me with some Wine Bull. I can never get Steam to run and wine properly. There's this thing called Wine Tricks that does it for you.
I will argue that point. I know exactly where P-Man's going. Play on Linux.
Yep.
Wine Tricks was the thing. I mean, like the one that has the billions of views on our channel, was me back in like 2010,
Explaining how to use wine tricks.
explaining how to install Skyrim with wine tricks and make it run right. Things have changed, man. Play on Linux is, I would say, 90% of the time, you install that, you find the script for that game. If it's there for your game, click it, install it, Bob's your uncle, go masturbate and play that heretic purchase that you just made because you're a horrible human being.
But yeah, Play on Linux, there was a time when Play on Linux was more cumbersome than it needed to be. It was a pain in the ass to set up. Most of the times the install scripts did not work, or they installed the game but then the game wouldn't launch. And nowadays, thankfully, they fixed most of that shit, so good on them.
There you go. Now stop whining!
Whining.
And let's get to the chopper, because on that whiny bombshell, let's cue the music and tell the people where you can find us at the end of the day. I am Vin Stone. You can always find me cleverly disguised at Vin Stone on the Twitter nets, plus Vin Stone on the G pluses, and my heterosexual life partners shall explain their fantastic body organs.
Yes. My body organs can be found on Twitter at The Burning Fool or on Google Plus at Jordan Swung, because I am Jordan Swung, and this guy is the chief Mexican.
Yes.
Speaking on behalf of all Mexicans,
Sí, señor. Dime las cosas.
you like some oranges?
So, I am Pedro Mateos. You can find me at unaccounted4 on Twitter or plus Pedro Mateos on the Google Pluses.
And
that
pretty
that's
much
about it.
does it. I guess at the end of the day, take that shot and keep loving us. Keep sending us the wet, stinky caches. Who was it who sent us some?
Oh, yes.
He sent us some wet limeys.
Wet limeys
Mark
all the way from the Queen's country.
Mark Buckley sent us
Mr.
40
Buckley.
pound sterling. So,
40.
bro, you want to plug, bro? Bro, you want to plug, bro?
Plug, bro. And
Single
on that, we'll just salute the Queen.
Pretty sure this is the wrong hand, but I don't give a shit.
You gotta like flip up the visor. That's how that works.
As the case may be. Alright.
Ah.
Well, that worked.